In this episode, an incredible man shows his true heroic character in his final moments as he's attacked again and again by a shark off the South Australian coastline. Hit that like button and subscribe right now. This is the heroic last minutes of Simon Baccanello before being eaten alive by a great white shark. Welcome to Final Affliction. On Saturday, 13th of May, 2023, surfers headed into the Great Australian Bight, a large natural bay located on the South Australian coastline. This bay, an important camping ground for southern right whales, offers some fantastic places to surf. The dramatic coastline creates incredible beaches, enticing people far and wide to enjoy swimming, snorkeling, fishing, and surfing. Simon drove about 7 kilometers north from his hometown of Elliston on the Eyre Peninsula. His destination was Walker's Rocks Beach. This is one of the longest beaches on South Australia's west coast and is partially sheltered by surrounding reefs, appealing to both swimmers and surfers. On this particular day, fellow surfers included 22-year-old Jaden Miller and a 13-year-old student who attended Mr. Baccanello's school. There were more than a dozen surfers enjoying the waves that morning. Some reported 20 people in the water at the time. There was a certain camaraderie among the surfers. They were riding the waves together, each of them drawn to the sea and the promise of an enjoyable time. Simon was less than 50 meters from shore when he started to shout. He must have noticed something in the water as he began to warn others to get out of the water. Locals knew the area was popular with great white sharks. In fact, the surfing spot was nestled between Venus Bay and East Island, two well-documented shark reproductive zones. Simon shouted at his fellow surfers. It is unclear whether he had been bitten by the shark at this point or whether he had seen an ominous shadow beneath the waves. Perhaps a dorsal fin had broken through the surface of the water before disappearing below the waves as it came in for the kill. Whatever it was, Simon warned the other surfers to get out of the water. He shouted that there was a shark. Between 15 and 20 people heard the urgency in his voice. They turned to look at the man. Had they heard him correctly? He shouted again, urging them to swim away from him. He was at the back of the group, furthest from the shore, furthest from the safety of dry land. And as the shark came in for the attack, Simon continued to warn those around him. Then, all of a sudden, a commotion erupted around the teacher. As people made a dash for the shore, Mr. Baccanello disappeared from sight. As surfing youngster Jaden Miller paddled away on his board, he glanced back over his shoulder. He saw the horror unfolding. A shark thrashing around where Simon had been just moments before. The water bubbled and boiled. A huge commotion as the shark grabbed hold of Simon and dragged him underwater. Out of sight, fellow surfers could just see Simon's board, tombstoning, a description used by surfers to describe a surfboard that is standing upright above the water. As the surfer is pulled underwater, the cord attached to their ankle is pulled tight, tugging the surfboard onto its end. Witnesses knew Simon was directly beneath the surfboard at that point. They knew that he would have been fighting to get to the surface, but something was dragging him down. Something was holding him underwater, but there was nothing anyone could do. It all happened so fast. Someone on the shoreline tooted a horn, a warning of a shark attack, telling everyone to get in, get out of the water. There was a mad rush for the beach. Everyone was paddling furiously to get to safety. Panic gripped the surfers and swimmers. Up to 20 people were in the water at the time of the attack. Any one of them could have been taken. Any one of them attacked. And that's something they will likely think about for a very long time, just how close they came to being attacked. As surfer Jaden made it to shore, he shouted for someone to call an ambulance, but it was too late. They knew there was little hope for Simon. He had been underwater too long now. He hadn't resurfaced, and the shark had now vanished. Emergency services rushed to the scene and arrived just after 10 a.m. From eyewitness accounts, it is thought that Simon was attacked 3 times by the shark. Perhaps firstly when he shouted for everyone to get out of the water, then when the surfboard tombstoned, and thirdly when other surfers saw the thrashing of a shark breaking through the surface of the water where Simon had been. The repeated attacks led some people to believe that it had been multiple sharks tearing into Simon, maybe a feeding frenzy, but this has not been verified. If it was a single shark, then it was a very unusual behavior for a shark. Typically, they take one bite before realizing humans aren't typical prey and swim away. If they are in hunting mode, then they often bite a seal or sea lion once before swimming away a little distance. They wait for the animal to grow weaker before going in for a second bite. As seals can deliver damaging bites, the sharks use this tactic to try to avoid being injured. Perhaps this shark was actively hunting Simon. It wasn't deterred by the fact that it was different prey from usual. Could it have been a case of mistaken identity, as is often claimed to be the case in shark attacks? Or was there another explanation for the multiple attacks? Experts have offered their opinions, but sometimes there is no rhyme or reason for a shark attack. Sometimes it can't be explained, and there is absolutely nothing the victim could have done differently to have changed the outcome. An extensive search was mounted following the attack. Boats and helicopters scoured the seas, searching the water around the attack site, but nothing was left. There was no trace of Simon. His board was recovered, a single bite mark in its center. One piece of styrofoam floated on the sea, thought to be part of the board. Later, a small strip of wetsuit washed ashore, but that was it. As the search for Simon continued, it moved to the shoreline. Searchers were hoping to find something that could verify what happened, some evidence that could be analyzed. Volunteers and rescue teams joined in the search to look for any trace of the much-missed young teacher. More than 10 days had passed after the attack, and there was still no sign of him. Simon was described as someone who always put others before himself, someone who had a beautiful nature and saw the best in everyone. Simon Baccanello will be sorely missed by all those who knew him. He leaves a hole in many people's hearts. He had only moved to the area in January, 4 months before the attack. It was an exciting new opportunity for him, a new challenge that he relished. He taught math, science, and health and physical education at Elliston Area School. Pupils referred to him affectionately as Mr. B. He was popular amongst staff and students, a dedicated teacher and enthusiastic person who put others first. He had coached students on both the football and tennis teams, as well as in junior sports. Chad Fleming, the school principal, described the 46-year-old as one of a kind and a true champion. He said that although he had only known Simon for 5 months, he felt like they had been friends for 10 years. That was the impact Mr. Baccanello had on people. Simon had loved living in the area, a place where he could enjoy both fishing and surfing, close to his home and place of work. In the short time that he had lived there, he had become part of the close community. With no sign of Simon's body almost 2 weeks later, his family and friends made the painful decision to hold a funeral service in celebration of his life 12 days after the attack. A private vigil was held at the beach where Simon was attacked, a chance to remember the much-loved man and pay respects from the tight-knit community. His family said that they will have to get used to the fact that Simon may be lost to the sea forever. A watery grave, his final resting place after his tragic, final affliction.